Subway Sect were one of the first British punk bands. Although their commercial success was limited by the small amount of recorded material they released, they have been credited as highly influential on the Postcard Records scene in the indie pop genre which followed. The core of the band was singer-songwriter Vic Goddard, plus assorted soul fans, who congregated around early gigs by the Sex Pistols until Malcolm McLaren suggested they form their own band. Subway Sect were among the performers at the 100 Club Punk Festival on Monday, September 21, 1976, sharing the bill with Susie and the Banshees, The Clash, and the Sex Pistols. The first lineup of Goddard on vocals, Paul Packham on drums, Paul Myers on bass and Rob Simmons on guitar lasted for 4 gigs before Mark Laff replaced Packham. Laff himself then left for fellow punk group Generation X after the Wild Riot tour. A third drummer, Bob Ward, was recruited, and it is this lineup that can be heard on the band's first John Peel session and also on the single Nobody's Scared. This was the first and only release on Break Records, a label owned by Bernie Rhodes, who managed both Subway Sect and The Clash. Rhodes subsequently supervised the recording of their debut album at Gooseberry Studios in London, with Clash soundman and producer Mickey Foote at the production helm. At the time, the band toured intensively with The Clash and others. Number 1 for me at the moment are the Subway Sect. They've got some good ideas. The Slits are good, too. Palmolive on drums. She's the female Jerry Nolan. But like everyone, they need to do 30 gigs in 30 days and they would be a different group. Then they'd be great. The same with us. However, just as their first album was ready for release, for reasons that remain obscure, Rhodes sacked all the band, except Goddard, and Subway Sect Mark I ceased to exist. The album was never released, although a single from the sessions, Ambition, was remixed and released on Rough Trade Records, with the B-side Different Story, Rock and Roll Even, also taken from the same sessions. Ambition was ranked at number 15 among the top tracks of the year for 1978 by NME. A further track, Parallel Lines, was released as a track on the C81 cassette produced by NME magazine. Since then, some monitor copies of tracks from the lost album have come to light on various Subway Sect compilations, including Emotion Records' 20-odd years double album anthology, and a CD and CD/EP set We Oppose All Rock and Roll on Overground Records. Any copies of the actual album tapes appear to no longer exist. As a result of 1977 appearances at the Roxy Club in London, live recordings were made of Subway Sect performances by Don Letts, the club's disc jockey. Subway Sect appears in Let's Punk Rock Movies, 1978. Goddard reformed the band, and as Vic Goddard and Subway Sect finally released their debut album What's the Matter, Boy? In 1980, following a period of shifting group personnel. The album features many songs written during the previous incarnation of the band, but performed with radically altered arrangements. By this time, Goddard had become increasingly influenced by early rockabilly and the first wave of rock and roll, Sun Records session-era Elvis Presley, Eddie Cochran, etc. This was just before the rockabilly revival, and the album was ignored as being retro. Ignoring this, Goddard then went further back in time, teaming up with guitarist Rod Markay, keyboardist Dave Collard, bassist Chris Bostock, and drummer Sean McLusky, with subsequent releases, in Songs for Sale, credited to Vic Goddard and the Subway Sect, showing the influence of the Rat Pack, Dean Martin, Frank Sinatra, and 1940s swing, many years before these sounds became fashionable again. Faced by dwindling sales and following a solo album, Trouble, backed by Working Week, Goddard left the music business and became a postman. In 1982, former Subway Sect members, Rob Markay, Dave Collard, Chris Bostock, and Sean McLusky, teamed up with American singer Digway and formed the band Joe Boxers. In the 1990s, a slow Goddard revival began. Backed by the re-release of his work on CD and numerous compilation albums, Goddard returned to recording, initially under his own name. In 2002, a CD was issued credited purely to Subway Sect, thus reviving the name, if not the original band. Named Sansend, it was a sample and beats-heavy collection of new songs, and it was followed 3 years later by Motion's Singles Anthology, which collected single A and B sides. Original Subway Sect guitarist and bass player Rob Simmons and Paul Myers resurfaced as the Fallen Leaves in 2004, although Myers has since quit the band. Rob Simmons still performs and records with the band. In 2007, a new Subway Sect, featuring on some recordings original members Mark Laff and Paul Myers, as well as former Sex Pistols drummer Paul Cook, released 1978 now, a remake of the original 1978 album as Goddard indicated it had originally sounded. In 2011, Myers rejoined Vic Goddard in Subway Sect permanently. His first official gig back was at Nambucca in London on October 28, 2011. Further vintage material was recorded in 2012, again with Paul Cook on drums, and released in 2014 as 1979 now. As of 2019, the current Subway Sect lineup of Goddard and Johnny Britton with a return Chris Bostock and Sean McCluskey has a new album Moments Like These due for release in 2020, produced by Mick Jones and previewed by single How High the Walls out on December 25 that year. What's the Matter Boy? 1980, Oddball/MCA, as Vic Goddard in Subway Sect. Songs for Sale, 1982, London. The End of the Surrey People, 1993, Postcard. Sandsend, 2002, Motion. 1978 Now, 2007, Overground. Long-Term Side Effect, 2009, Rough Trade. We Come as Aliens, 2010, Overground. 1979 Now, 2014, A.D. Moments Like These, 2020, Glue. A Retrospective, 1977 to 1981, 1984, Rough Trade, as Vic Goddard and the Subway Sect. We Oppose All Rock and Roll, 1976 to 1980, 1996, Overground. 20-odd Years, The Story of, 1999, Motion, as Vic Goddard and the Subway Sect. Singles Anthology, 2005, Motion, as Vic Goddard and Subway Sect. Live and Rare, Volume 1, 2011, New Inc. 30-odd Years, 2014, New Inc. Nobody's Scared B/W Don't Split It, 1978, Break. Ambition B/W A Different Story, 1978, Rough Trade. Split Up the Money B/W Out of Touch, 1980, Oddball/MCA, as Vic Goddard and Subway Sect. Stamp of a Vamp, 1981, Club Left, as Vic Goddard and the Subway Sect. Hey Now, I'm in Love, B/W Just in Time, Mr. Bennett, 1981, London, as Vic Goddard and the Subway Sect. Ambition EP, 1996, Overground. Find Out All the Time B/W Dead Dreamy, 2016, GNU. How High the Walls, 2019, GNU.